Hey everybody, welcome to Tea Talks, where we talk about things from games, movies, anime, and other sorts of related things. Have you ever heard of an anime called Slayers? Slayers was a great fantasy comedy adventure anime that was very prominent and popular during the 90s. Personally, I loved it for the RPG-like elements it had in the show. And speaking of RPG-like elements, they actually made a game based on that very same thought. And oh boy, they sure made a game alright. Slayers for the SNES is a game where you play as Lina Inverse, the main character of the respected series. She is a powerful sorceress who gets into many adventures due to her infinite history and other various reasons. In this game, you get to meet several other cast members of the show that join you and also leave your party as you progress through the game, including my favorite character, Gourry. For the game's plot, Lina Inverse loses her memory, resulting in her forgetting her name and most of the spells that she is so used to using. This isn't to say all her spells are gone, however. She can still use them, but only very basic spells such as casting fire and simple healing at first.
It's wizard time, Fireball!
Due to her losing her memory, most of the game is spent traveling the world meeting characters from the manga while gaining memories back here and there. This all results in typical RPG fashion to fighting the final boss with a huge plot twist that I can't state here because it would be a huge spoiler to you, and I can't bring myself to do that to you. Now that the plot is out of the way, this brings us to our next part of the video. This game is not that good. Yeah, this game is about as basic as an RPG game can get, like it was made by someone new with RPG Maker. Not saying all RPG Maker games are basic though. They have some really good games here and there. But this game could have been so much more. It's no wonder this game was released in Japan only, as I completely see why the creators did not think it would work out well here in the West. And that's because, well, it really wouldn't have. I want to take this moment before I continue to point out that this game was made in 1994, the same year we got amazing games such as Final Fantasy VI. Before that, we already had great RPGs such as Secret of Mana and Dragon Quest IV. This game struggled on both parts harshly. And together, we're gonna take a look at exactly what I mean. The graphics of this game are pretty bad for the majority of it. I will say though, that I do like how being in battle looks, however. It reminds me of Phantasy Star, similar battle layout. I also really appreciate some of the cutscenes you're treated to in this game. They all look beautiful and almost distract you for a split second you are playing on an SNES. I mean, just look at that beautiful pixel art. But then you see the open world. Oh man, the open world. Excuse me for my sudden language, but what the actual heckle happened here? So how the heck did we go from this to this? It's one thing that our character's designs when exploring the overworld look outdated, even for its time period. It's another thing that the overworld somehow manages to do it worse on its own right. A lot of it looks like they just copy and pasted a few sprites to get it out of the way quickly. I actually got lost a few times because I couldn't tell the difference between one place from another. I mean, take a look at this dungeon for example. They'd even try to make one area of it look different from the other. They could have at least, I don't know, thrown a shining emerald on the wall or ruby or something to make it stand out a bit more. Now I must say that I must regress a little, as I remember this game was probably made to promote the manga. And usually games with this main focus, at least from my experience, don't do as well at a critic standpoint. But this game, it's almost as if it doesn't try sometimes. As for gameplay, it's basically the same loop of talk to some people, get a lead, do a dungeon, fight a boss, and profit. And by profit, I mean loot, because that's all this game is. Sure, you also level up here and there, but all that struggle is almost taken away immediately when you almost start out the game 30 minutes to an hour in with Naga the Serpent, who literally outmatches everyone on your team. Don't look at me like that. Sure, she leaves you later in the game and you have to actually grind like in most RPGs again, but geez, it feels like the game literally forces you to put on training wheels for a while. As for combat, I can't really say much except the fact that it's like literally every other turn-based RPG. There's literally nothing that separates it as far as I can tell. No interesting new mechanic to deal with, use, or even worry about. You want an attack? Go ahead. Defend? Magic item? Well, I think you get the point. Let's also not forget the music in this game. The music is so boring that it actually hurts a little. Honestly, my expectations were already low, but geez, they really did not go out of their way to make any of the music stand out at all. I honestly can barely tell music apart from one another when visiting several different locations in the game, and that itself is a really big red flag. Now, as much as I had to say about how bland and bad this game is, I will say that it isn't the worst RPG you could choose to play, and there are still a few things I enjoyed. One good thing I can say about the game that I haven't mentioned already is that the game surprisingly keeps the humor of the show throughout the story. They actually managed to make it feel like Slayers, and that's saying a lot for this game. An example I can think of is how the game literally starts out with you being unconscious, then suddenly dragged away on the ground after being found by a villager. Keep in mind that Lina Inverse is supposed to be an all-powerful sorceress, and here she is, our main character being drugged around like a sack of heavy potatoes. To make the situation even more hilarious, the villagers don't know how they can convince you to take on a quest for them, so they trick you by shoving you down a hole so you're forced to do it. This actually feels like something I would read while reading the manga. Whenever you land an attack, your character's portrait will change to match it. Whenever you're hit, your character will make a humorous face to show they've taken damage. Slayers for the SNES is definitely not a good RPG, but I don't think it's also the worst RPG ever, which is sadly all I can really say for the game. I really tried, and I mean I really tried to enjoy this game, and I did a little bit, but just all its flaws made me overlook it completely. This game is just simply lacking. I personally do not recommend this game unless you are a big fan of the series and have nothing better to do like me. In my honest opinion, without being biased, I rate this game about 5 out of 10. I originally was going with a 4 out of 10, but the fact it managed to keep the anime's similar humor made me feel like it deserved a point for that. This game is as bland as an RPG can be, and you are much better off playing something like Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger if you need an RPG fix. If you are a fan of the Slayer series though, there is an English translation made just for you. Huge shout out to Matt's Messy Room. I wouldn't have been able to play this game or make this video without your hard work on the fan translation. If I missed anything I should have mentioned or have other video suggestions, please leave a comment down below, as I would be happy to see what you all have to say. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and even consider subscribing for more future videos. I hope to see you all again soon in the next video. Take care and goodbye.